I was originally a dancer, was my OG career. But I think it was like in high school, I saw the movie Seven, which I probably shouldn't have been watching at the time, but I loved the opening title sequence for that movie. I just like fell in love with it. I think it was just the fact that you can like learn so much about the story without any dialogue. And was really kind of captivated by that. So I would film things with my home movie camera and like splice things together on VHS tapes, not realizing that that was like what editing is. I knew I wanted to be involved in film and TV in some capacity. So I had moved out to LA. I was still dancing, but I didn't know anybody, but I'd knocked on kind of every door I could find. And at one point I was working at Smashbox Studios, which is a photography studio that rents out production space in the back. And there just happened to be a French documentary that was cutting in one of the back spaces, and they needed a night assistant editor. And I was like, sure, absolutely, I would do anything just to get a foot in the door. And I just really fell in love with the process and realized that that's kind of what I had been doing in high school, not realizing that that was like a career possibility. So I kind of gravitated towards that. The editor on that documentary, Ben Meyer, who's amazing, recommended me to a post house called Fancy Film that was looking for assistant editors. And I ended up working there for 2 years before I got the bump up. So just kind of worked my way up from there.
So you were working as an assistant for about, you say, 2 years at one shop, and how long at the other one?
Just a couple months on the French documentary, but
That's
Fancy Film, I was there for like 2 years, and
mhm.
they're more of an online house, as well as offline. But I helped a lot with the online, so it was kind of like a huge technical knowledge that I gained when I was there that I don't know that I would have
Mhm.
elsewhere.
So you know why the volume on your Zoom was low and how to record. Come on, you don't fool anybody. So that's a pretty accelerated trajectory by sort of what you'd call, I guess, average standards, because a lot of people end up in the assistant world for years and years, and and then they sort of like take a pay cut to jump up and do the full editor. So what was it like? Is it out of necessity? What was this experience like to get like, hey, come here, you're editing this?
Well, it was, I think I was very lucky at Fancy Film because I had a lot of mentors there, a lot of editors who came through, um, just kind of took me under their wing and taught me a lot of like tips and tricks, and just watching the way that they worked with producers and directors was really helpful, I think, as well, and just learning how to navigate, like being in the chair. Um, I think at one point I was just talking to the owner of Fancy Film, Bill McCumber, um, who's also like an amazing mentor. And I was like, I think, I'm really ready to cut anything if you have anything that's coming in. I had been able to edit sort of shorter, like corporate industrial videos when I was working at Fancy Film, because they do have some of those come through from time to time. So I was like, I'm ready for whatever you have. And the project that was coming in next was actually a documentary about Mel Brooks and Carl Reiner's 2000-Year-Old Man sketch.
Mhm.
And so I was like, please, I will do anything to edit this. And,
Wow.
I think we had developed, enough trust, and he knew kind of my work at that point to let me give it a shot, and he was always kind of there if, I'm like, how is this cut? Does this work? Is there anything you would do differently? Comedically, does this work? And so it was a really just amazing experience. And
Wow. That's
obviously
incredible.
obviously I love Mel Brooks and Carl Reiner. So it was like a dream project. Especially to have that be my first like TV credit.